Some people with autism like certain colours or textures. This is a sensory thing, and people with autism can find great joy or comfort in stroking soft, fluffy things or any other texture, colour, or other sense. When making this video, I didn't realise I had bipolar and that I was in mania. In mania, your senses can be amplified. Some people with autism find this really overwhelming, but personally, all the colours and textures I love are amplified and bring me even more joy, love, and comfort. With mania, you can feel even more joy. This video is about single-celled organisms called amoebas. Amoebas are like little squishy blobs that are more complex and more than bacteria and more related to animals and plants than they are to bacteria. I love squishy things with my autism, and this is amplified by mania, so I hope you enjoy. In order not to breach confidentiality, I shall refer to this person pictured in the drawing as Patient X. Patient X has OCD that involves dust mites, snails, and amoebas. They worry about harming organisms. For example, stepping on a snail is particularly distressing because it causes a loud crunching noise, and a smashed snail shell looks very graphic, and snails are large animals, and so humans in general tend to care more about larger animals. People with OCD often have a heightened sense of morality and responsibility, and so patient X may worry about being a bad person if they harm tiny creatures. The patient may also have a fear of contamination around tiny creatures. I would like to explore whether the patient feels empathy towards the tiny creatures and attributes human-like features to the tiny creatures, like emotions and pain and suffering. I am particularly interested in both amoebas and personification. Some people with OCD eat spicy food to make their nose run, to flush out any brain-eating amoebas. Some people constantly blow their nose to get rid of the amoebas. Brain-eating amoebas live in water. Some people can't drink or take a shower without worrying water has gone up their nose and that there are amoebas in the water that's went up their nose. Philisteria are a group of amoeba-like organisms closely related to animals. They have long, skinny appendages called phyllocedopods. People find spiders' long legs creepy, and people also find humans who are very skinny more creepy on average. Is there a connection? And are these amoeba-like organisms therefore even creepier? Patient X is afraid of animals with no legs or too many legs. Amoebas can have appendages called pseudopods, and maybe the patient has some fear around the amoeba's legs. Some nerve cells can have thousands of branches. If each branch is like a leg, the nerve cell would have thousands of legs. I have autism and I love my mum for the same reasons I love amoebas. It's a sensory thing. Mom is like an amorphous jelly blob that changes shape when you squeeze her. She's like a squidgy, slimy amoeba that changes shape, molding to you when you hug and squeeze and manipulate her. That's how she can be monkeys, mice, and aliens all at the same time. She's an amoeba. She can change her shape. With my own OCD, I also worry about harming dust mites. However, I assume dust mites have brains, whereas amoebas are single-celled organisms. Because of this, I don't worry about harming amoebas. However, people with autism can attribute human-like traits to things like objects and animals, and I think because of my own autism, I personify amoebas with their cute little pseudopod legs slowly fumbling around in need of a little hand. They're helpless and vulnerable. I want to help the little amoebas get to where they're going, like someone helping a grandma cross the road. I have always perhaps wrongly assumed that I don't encounter amoebas in my house and daily life, and I never worried about them because I wasn't even aware I was living with them. The amoeba says, "Seeing as you've been so kind helping me, I'll not eat your brain." Alzheimer's and other diseases can be studied in amoebas by giving them human proteins like an Alzheimer's-related protein called presenilin. I like the idea of amoebas having neurological or mental health conditions because I like personifying amoebas even though they don't have a nervous system. Amoebas with Alzheimer's proteins can be smaller and have trouble eating. I used to care for my grandma with Alzheimer's 30 hours a week, but I wish I could still care for her because then I'd be using my talents to benefit other people. Maybe I can care for an amoeba with Alzheimer's. My mom's single brain cell. My mom only has one brain cell. My mom has bipolar, and her single brain cell is a real type of nerve cell called a bipolar neuron. Having only one brain cell makes mom a very easy model to study bipolar because she's so simple. Slither sucker from the future is wild. Slime moles are like single-celled amoebas, except the single cells can come together to form a much larger organism in real life. Slime molds are real on our current Earth, but a fictional program explored how they might evolve in the future, becoming larger and more intelligent. The slime mold's descendants are called slither suckers. Slither suckers are pure sensory heaven. They're slimy and gooey. You could just melt into them and be absorbed by them as you sink into them like a delicious chocolate fondant. They're bright, exuberant orange like gooey magma, thick and viscous that is glowing and glossy and in wavy layers. They're squidgy and stretchy. You could mold them with the satisfaction of putting a knife through butter. I love amoeba-like organisms, and I wish I could hug a giant amoeba and show it my affection. I'd love the intelligent slither sucker because it could be intelligent like a dog. It could love you back. It could be like a pet. Oh, and did I mention amoebas can be translucent? Planet Darwin 4. In Wayne Barlow's book Expedition, there is a planet with a whole sea that is one gelatinous organism called the amoebic sea. I wish the laws of physics would allow the gigantic amoeba to stand up so we could see the majesty and magnitude of their size. They'd be like a celestial Galactus from Marvel, towering over the planet in all their glory. I'd love to get down on my knees and worship my amoeba overlord. The amoebic sea is a purple hue that is both regal and cosmic. Part 2. This is my drag race amoeba persona, and I've got like an amoeba face with a bow and eyelashes and hair sticking up through the bow.
I'm a female amoeba. I've got a high-pitched voice because I'm a woman. And I'm just sliding about with me pseudopod legs like a gelatinous jelly blob, like a gummy bear. Horrible. And I've got me baby bump because I'm a pregnant amoeba. Because I'm a woman. Oh, I'm a lady. Oh, as you know, I'm Amy the amoeba drag queen, and I'm going to be slithering about like an amoeba, but also drying dishes because I'm a lady and that's what ladies do. So I've got the tissue. Oh, we're flailing my arms, wiggling them about like a little amoeba. Oh, I'm all amorphous blob, slimy thing slithering about. And then I got this plate dried.
There we go. One plate done.
I'm a lady, I've got my bump, and what do ladies do? They give birth, so I'm in the bath about to give birth. Oh, I can feel it coming, the baby's coming. I'm an amoeba giving birth, because I'm a woman, I give birth. Oh, it's coming out. Oh, I can feel it. Oh, push. Oh, it's a jar of jam. That's me baby.
amoeboid, as they say in science. I'm a lady.
So I'm actually straight. I like me football and me beer.
Well, maybe not football and beer, but yeah, so my sister's gay, but I'm straight. So it's like, I hope my sister enjoys my drag performance, and it's a way of like connecting with her and stuff like that. Because when she watches Drag Race, I watch it with her. I'd like to spread the amoeba baby on toast like jam. It would be so satisfying. The amoeba jam is translucent with light shimmering through it. It would be like those ASMR videos where they spread miniature planets on bread. I love the texture of the jam amoeba, and I love the bold, intense red that its translucency invigorates as it brings out darker hues, oranger hues, and pure red.
I'm actually a man amoeba, but I change shape and dress up as a woman amoeba. We standing up way and drink beer way. Lads, I like pink and femininity. Qualities such as care and nurture and empathy, compassion, and emotional intelligence are stereotypically associated with pink and femininity. Other qualities like being sweet and sensitive and expressing emotions and being vulnerable and showing affection are also stereotypically feminine, although these are just stereotypes.
As a man amoeba, I'd like these qualities in myself, and people would probably say that I already have these qualities as a man amoeba. That's why, even though I'm a man amoeba, I do drag and dress up as a woman amoeba.
So I'm Amelia the amoeba, or Amy the amoeba for short.
But I'm also Bob the Blob.
Look, I'm an amoeba, I'm like a blob. But I'm also a lady, I'm a woman, so I'm on the blob. Look, I'm on my period. I've got all my blood. I'm on the blob. I'm an amoeba, but I'm also a lady. So I'm changing my shape like an amoeba does, but also how your body changes shape as you age. And I'm going through the menopause, so I'm having a bit of mood swings. Part 3. A creamy amoeba made of chicken tikka masala sauce sits atop the curry. I want to eat the amoeba up and feel the thick texture of the shifting tomato masala sauce. My mum's face is red like my favourite curry, chicken tikka masala. Mum's clothes are fluffy like the fluffy vegetable pilau rice. Red is a very bold and intense colour and has been my favourite colour, but I really like pink in a special different way as well. And pink, my mum's face is bright pink. All the amoebas in patient X are in the pocket. Patient X has borderline personality disorder. With this condition, you can fear people abandoning you, but you can also fear people emotionally engulfing you. Patient X wouldn't want to fuse with another person because they don't want to be emotionally consumed by that person. However, Patient X would like to be shrunk down so they could fit in their partner's pocket. Here's Patient X being shrunk down so that they and all their amoeba friends can fit in their partner's pocket. Before we talk about the next part, I would like to make it very clear that I am not sexually attracted to amoebas, and that the next drawing is purely intellectual curiosity and nothing sensory related or sexual. Humans and fungi belong to the group called Opistheconta, which means in real life they both evolved from a single-celled organism that had one hair-like appendage called a flagellum. And as a remnant of this single-celled ancestor, humans have sperm cells which also have a single hair-like tail called a flagellum. What if in a parallel universe, animals evolved from amoebas, and humans looked the same, but had sperm cells that looked like amoebas? Humans would have evolved from amoebas, and therefore be amoebas themselves. Human amoebas. Now that would be interesting personification. And here's me giving a sperm sample with my amoeba sperm, because I'm an amoeba in a parallel universe. And the amoeba-shaped sperm is just a remnant of their amoeba ancestors, which were also amoeba-shaped in a parallel universe. And so they evolved from amoebas and retain the amoeba-shaped sperm cells, even though now they look human. Now let's go back to talking about the real world. Sea sponges have different types of cells. In real life, sponges have cells which each have a hair-like flagellum. These cells, called choanocytes, are thought to be a remnant of animals' real ancestor that had a hair-like flagellum. In real life, sponges also have amoeba-like cells called amoebocytes. Even though sponges have amoeba-like cells, sponges and humans didn't actually evolve from amoebas, and so the fact that their real cells are similar to amoebas is just a coincidence. Now if we go back to talking about the parallel universe, if in the parallel universe sponges evolved from amoebas, then the sponge's amoeba-like cells may be more than just a coincidence, and maybe because the parallel sponges evolved from amoebas, and so the amoeba-like cells are a remnant of that. In the parallel universe, because sponges evolved from amoebas instead of cells with a single hair-like flagellum, it may just be a coincidence that the parallel sponges have other cells that each have a single hair-like flagellum. So in real sponges, the cells with a single flagellum are an ancestral remnant, whereas in parallel sponges, the amoeba-like cells are an ancestral remnant. Let's talk about the real world again. In animals like fish, amphibians, and reptiles, their colour can actually be caused by pigment cells called chromatophores. In real life, these cells can be shaped like amoebas, looking like they have amoeba pseudopod legs. Humans' pigment cells, called melanocytes, can also be amoeba-like. But remember, I'm talking about the real world, where animals did not evolve from amoebas, so the fact that in real life colourful cells look like amoebas is just a coincidence. Now if we talk about the parallel universe, in the parallel universe animals did actually evolve from amoebas, and this means that in the parallel animals, it's not just a coincidence that pigment cells look like amoebas. In the parallel universe, pigment cells are a remnant of animals' amoeba ancestry and look like amoebas because parallel animals evolved from amoebas. I love pretending humans evolved from amoebas, and therefore humans would be amoebas, because it's a way of personifying amoebas and giving them human traits, like looking like a human, while keeping it somewhat scientifically plausible. I particularly like pretending that I'm an amoeba. In the parallel universe, there is also a parallel version of my pet rock. This version of my pet rock is a therapist. Here's part of an older video where I personify my pet rock. In this new universe, the new version of me said to this new version of the rock, "Thank you for helping me identify my feelings." The new universe had a different writing system. Originally, looking at the feelings on the feeling wheel was like looking at a different language. I felt angry and isolated because I couldn't express my feelings. The feelings are written in an actual fully functional writing system I made when I was a child that is translatable. Now, though, I've learned to read and understand the feeling wheel. By now in the new universe, if you look out the window, you can see flying cars and tall buildings with plants growing on them. I feel joyful and optimistic for the future when I usually feel hopeless. Doing this video makes me feel proud and fulfilled. Part 4. I'd love to feel an amoeba made of pink, fluffy cotton slime. I'd love to run my hands through the amoeba and manipulate it. I feel shame and embarrassment because in society, adults are not supposed to have fluffy, cuddly toys or play with slime. I feel like I've regressed or lost touch with reality. But people with autism have different sensory needs, and it's a sensory thing. I feel loving and caring towards amoebas, as well as feeling connected with the amoebas through personifying them. I'm intellectually interested in them, and I feel joy and comfort from imagining feeling them, or actually feeling similar squidgy things like sensory toys or my mom. The amoeba made of pink fluffy cotton slime says, "Hee hee, that tickles." I want to be absorbed by the amoeba and become one with them. I like very hot things like sitting on radiators and making my baths very hot. I'd love a volcano with an amoeba on top made of hot viscous magma. I'd love to wade through the amoeba magma like a hot jelly bath. Me and the amoeba could just melt into each other as a lovely scorching sensation engulfs me as half my body turns red, like when I'm in the bath. I'd leave pebbles or cuddly toys on the radiator, but I'd worry the heat would damage them. Maybe the lava would kill me too and take me to sensory heaven, or maybe it would take me to burning hot sensory hell. Either way, as long as I'm hot, I'm happy. I am filled with awe at the scale of the giant volcano amoeba. Patient X has OCD, and when talking to them, they brought up amoebas boring into your eyes. Patient X also personifies amoebas and imagines them as being circles with pointed teeth and eyebrows. Patient X seems to be afraid of amoebas. Patient X also fears animals like snakes that eat large prey whole. Amoebas engulf and absorb prey as well. Patient X has borderline personality disorder, which can cause patient X to fear being emotionally engulfed or emotionally consumed by people. I'm wondering if there is a connection between patient X's fear of emotional engulfment and their fear of animals and amoebas that physically engulf things. This may just be a coincidence, but it is still fun to explore nonetheless. I have drew a drawing for patient X as an exposure therapy exercise. While exposure therapy can be useful for OCD and phobias, it can also make some forms of anxiety worse. I am not qualified to treat borderline personality disorder, and I'm unaware of whether this exposure exercise will be beneficial for engulfment anxiety that is characteristic of borderline personality disorder. The amoeba says,
I know you have a fear of engulfment, so I'm going to absorb you and engulf you through the process of phagocytosis, and you're going to end up in a bubble-like compartment of cells called a vesicle, trapped in your dissociation bubble as you dissolve into me and become one.
Here's the drag queen amoeba wearing a woman's bikini. Part of a tiny liverwort plant looks like a palm tree at the beach. With OCD, you can worry about being attracted to things you're not. If you're straight, you may worry you're gay. Or if you're gay, you may worry you're straight. Or if you have a partner, you may worry you're attracted to someone other than your partner. And of course, there's a lot of taboo things you could worry about being attracted to as well. Currently, I am worried that I am sexually attracted to amoebas. Obviously, I'm not actually attracted to amoebas, but I love amoebas as a special interest and in a sensory way. And how I describe amoebas sounds intense, which makes me worried I'm attracted to amoebas. But again, it's very common for people with OCD to worry about similar things, even if it isn't specific to amoebas. My family would say, Clearly, I'm not attracted to amoebas. An exposure exercise for fearing you're attracted to amoebas could be to draw an amoeba wearing a bikini. So I've drawn the amoeba drag queen wearing a bikini. All the amoeba people live in a place called sensory heaven. But what about sensory hell? In sensory hell, the amoebas are made of egg white with their little egg yolk babies in their tummy. They're gelatinous and gooey and runny. But I can't stand eggs! When I was younger, I couldn't be in the same room as eggs because of the smell. And if someone had eggs, the window had to be open for when I returned to the room. I couldn't stand the feel of waterproof trousers or jeans when I was younger, so the amoebas in sensory hell are wearing waterproof trousers and jeans. When I was younger, on a walking trip, I refused to put on my waterproof trousers, even though I didn't like the feel of getting wet in rain either. You may think sensory hell would have burning hot volcanoes, but no, sensory hell is freezing with no gloves, and I am very sensitive to the cold. The only volcanoes in sensory hell are the sort of volcanoes you get on real freezing cold places in the solar system. These real volcanoes are called cryovolcanoes, meaning they are made of ice and erupt molten ice, which is cold water. The water may be mixed with other liquids like ammonia into a big slush puppy amoeba. Ordinarily, slush would seem like a nice sludgy texture to eat or play with, but the ammonia in the slush may not feel or taste pleasant. When I was little, I couldn't eat ice cream because it was too cold, and although I liked playing with snow, eventually I began to feel far too cold. Part 5, this talks about patient Y, who is a different person to patient X. Exposure therapy. Patient Y worries they have a big head, so to expose them to the fear, I've drawn them with a head the size of an asteroid, with craters in that look like eyes and a mouth. There may be differences between how OCD and body dysmorphia are treated. You don't really have a big head, but I'm not sure whether reassurance is good or bad for your condition because I only know about OCD and not body dysmorphia. I'm drawing my head the size of an atom because I worried my head was too small. Now me and patient Y are even, and I'm not just specifically targeting and bullying them. When I was younger, I was very insecure about having a small head and used to wear clothes that didn't make my body look big compared to my head. So I'd wear really tight clothes and wear my trousers really high up so that my body looked smaller compared to my head. I wouldn't wear baggy clothes. Patient Y's head is Pluto. Pluto has a heart-shaped pattern on it. I have drawn patient Y's head as Pluto. Notice how Pluto is really small compared to planets, but really large compared to humans. If humans were larger, we might think of Pluto as smaller, or if other planets were smaller, we might think of Pluto as larger. But Pluto would still be the same size. It's just the things we compare Pluto to that change. You may feel existential dread when thinking about how small humans are compared to the universe, but if the universe was 1,000,000 times smaller, humans would still be exactly the same size. Maybe Pluto is small, maybe Pluto is large. It's ambiguous, and there's uncertainty, just like how you feel with your head. People with OCD need to learn to tolerate uncertainty. I don't know what treatment is needed for body dysmorphia, though. Part of Pluto is reddish brown, and in the solar system things can be reddish brown because of an organic material called tholins. Tholins can be like a muddy sludge that's not biological. I'd love an amoeba made of this oozy gunk. I could create tholin angels in it as if it was snow. Patient Y's Pluto head contains cryovolcanoes that erupt molten ice, and the head contains mud like tholins. Pluto is very cold, and the tholins may have turned hard like a frozen football pitch. The molten ice in the cryovolcanoes may be more like slush than water. I don't play in mud on Earth because tiny creatures could live in mud and I might harm them and cause them suffering if I dig or disturb mud, or I could become contaminated with a disease. There may be no complex life on Pluto, and so my body heat could warm the tholins up into an ice gloop that I could immerse myself in guilt-free. Although now I've just thought maybe my body would contaminate Pluto with microbes from Earth, so that would be a bad thing. On Saturn's moon Titan, there is liquid methane. It's so surreal. It's a liquid like water we're all familiar with, but it's not water. It's a different liquid. It's so Earth-like yet otherworldly at the same time. I'd love to immerse myself in liquid methane, like being in a liquid methane amoeba. The liquid would be eerily thin, like passing through a ghost. You could drift freely as you coast aimlessly, without anything slowing you down. It's like when you come out of depression and doing things no longer feels like you're wading through thick syrup, making every act harder. It would feel so light and free as the brisk cold washes over you with low enough energy that it doesn't push you around or control you or make you get lost in the current. Foggy gas evaporates from the liquid, like letting out a relaxing sigh of relief as your foggy breath becomes visible because of the freezing cold. I think part of me would like a loving relationship. I'm not sure I'm attracted to anyone because of the way OCD distorts things and makes you think you're attracted to people or things you're not actually attracted to. But I would like an emotional connection and a lot of cuddles, and a relationship seems like a means to achieve that. I'm not sexually attracted to amoebas or romantically interested in them, but maybe I'm putting my desire for a loving emotional connection that I'd want from a girlfriend into an amoeba. Maybe I'm lonely, isolated, and alienated and need amoebas to fill the void. Amoebas give me a warm, fuzzy feeling that's more like finding an animal cute than it is finding anything attractive. But I don't know what romantic feelings are supposed to feel like because of OCD. Amoebas give me a feeling like when you're eating really tasty food and you're like, oh, that's so good, in a pleasurable way, but not in a sexual way. My video has not been romantic, but maybe in some ways it mirrors a romantic novel in how intense and intimate I describe amoebas. That's why I worried I was attracted to them. But this is not a romantic novel, it's a sensory emotional novel, a sensantic novel, if you will. Part 6. Ammonite fossils are like squids with shells. However, sometimes the ammonite's body is preserved without their shell. I feel emotionally vulnerable, like a squishy, squidgy naked ammonite without their shell. The body underneath where my coiled shell used to be is like a fleshy spiral. In my story, I identify as an ammonite called cephalopod. Amoebas called foraminifera can also have coiled shells. I drew a foraminifera amoeba without their shell. The soft pink and fleshy skin is visible beneath the amoeba's shell. Me and the amoeba are naked and squishy together, emotionally vulnerable without our shells, as we embrace, fuse, and melt together. Writing about amoebas allows me to safely explore feelings about intimacy. Maybe these thoughts are just sexually intrusive thoughts. Maybe these are just part of my OCD. I can't tell what's real, and so amoebas allow me to explore OCD thoughts in a safe way. I won a realistic fake tongue sensory toy that's squidgy and stretchy, and you can roll it up like a fleshy ammonite shell, and that's where the idea of the naked ammonite and amoeba came from. The tongue sensory toy is called Carl Tongue, after the psychologist Carl Jung. Some foraminifera amoeba shells are star-shaped and yellow. In prehistoric times, these amoebas may not have evolved shells yet and been naked. The foraminifera are personified with pink, fleshy, squidgy skin, all floppy and veiny. I feel anxious, shame, guilt, and embarrassment talking about this, and that means my OCD is involved. Talking about anything sexual or romantic in general makes me very uncomfortable and anxious. Making videos about these topics makes me ruminate a lot afterwards, but maybe I should learn to be more comfortable talking about these topics, even though the OCD and intrusive thoughts and images are around humans and not amoebas, and I'm not attracted to amoebas. I would like this video to be like a romance novel between me and the amoebas. The OCD is around irrationally worrying you're obsessed with someone. They're an adult woman, but there are so many connotations around being obsessed with someone that I still feel creepy, perverted, or like a bad person, even though I'm not actually obsessed with them. I'm just obsessively worried that I'm obsessed with them, and there's a difference. I drew an amoeba that's a sack of fat. Fat beneath the skin is actually a happy, vibrant, glowing amber colour. It's like a tropical sunset or a juicy mango you could sink your teeth into, mixed with the waxy look of a giant lump of earwax. Skin is soft, and I love fat for sensory reasons, not sexual reasons. It's squidgy like dough you could squeeze and stretch it and play with it and mold it like memory foam. There are a lot of fatty areas of the body, and I think OCD and intrusive thoughts use the fact that you like squidgy fat to trick you into thinking you're attracted to someone. When you see a dog that's very cute, you get a warm, fuzzy feeling, but you know you're not attracted to dogs. The adult I worried I was attracted to wore yellow trousers and had a very cute face and was very small, like a cute little amoeba wearing yellow trousers. Because they're a person, though, you can mistake that cute feeling for being in love with them. And there's a coin next to the amoeba for comparison. I love the sensory aspect of animals without shells. Tusk shells are related to squids and snails, but they're in their own separate group. In real life, they have tentacles and a tusk-like shell. They're not very well known, and I'd imagine them as shy, overlooked, and hiding in their shell. They don't like to be the center of attention, and they keep to themselves. But I'd love the soft and squidgy feel of a tusk shell without their shell. And I love pink. Part 7. I love the soft, squidgy intestine, all folded and scrunched up and scraggly. There are protuberances that lie in the inside of the intestine, called villi, and they are covered in even smaller protuberances, called microvilli. The villi look all pink and fluffy because they're covered in microvilli. I drew pink, fluffy villi, people. The inside of the intestine is like a fluffy carpet that wraps all the way around and covers the ceiling of the intestine. A carpet that defies gravity. The gut bacteria float around in this alien world like astronauts in zero gravity. I love looking at and feeling fluffy and furry things, and the inside of the intestine is like the inside of a fluffy pink dressing gown sleeve. Cozy, comfortable, safe, and soothing. I drew a snake without scales. These are real and feel soft, smooth, and silky and delicate, with their skin full of very fine folds and wrinkles. With OCD, you get intrusive sexual images that you don't like and that go against your values. My intrusive images overlap with my sensory world, and I feel bad and weird drawing things like intestines because intestines are part of the body, and I therefore worry there's something sexual to them. Drawing intrusive images about people as creatures without shells or scales has helped me express those thoughts in a safe way. But I worry if I keep drawing pictures like this, it will develop into some sort of fetish. This is just my OCD making me irrationally worry about things. The drawings are also about emotional vulnerability, and how I have been able to open up, express, and articulate my feelings more. Pillow lava is real rock that is round and lumpy with a soft, cute shape. Imagine if the rock shed its hard exterior, leaving soft pink, squidgy and fleshy, fatty lumps behind. They're like dollops of ice cream. I like pretending rocks are conscious, and I came up with my own version of neurology for rocks. I really like pebbles that are round, and I talked for over an hour, using neurology to explain why rocks are round. I think I like round pebbles because round things are cute and have soft shapes, and it helps me personify rocks. But I worried I liked rocks because they were similar shapes to boobs, which is just my OCD making me irrationally worry. I feel small and insignificant, inferior. I feel really anxious and guilty for wanting to draw this picture. I feel like a terrible person, a creepy pervert, like I have to hide myself. I feel ashamed, disgusted at myself, and worthless. My self-esteem feels lower, and I feel insecure. These are all emotions OCD makes you feel. I feel really overwhelmed and like I can't cope. My drawings have been triggering my OCD and intrusive images. I had the intrusive thought of a naked coastal cliff formation with holes. My drawings are now themselves intrusive images. The cliff is squidgy but with edges and corners like sliced up bits of pink raw chicken. I'm so confused about what my drawings mean and how to interpret my art, and I'm confused about what my thoughts and feelings mean. Do I just feel anxious and are my drawings just expressing this OCD anxiety? Or do I like the thoughts about naked cliffs? Are my drawings perverse with all the holes? Or are they just expressive of my OCD and not even sexual? My drawings personify rocks and animals and amoebas, giving them squishy human skin with wrinkles, folds, and veins. Normally people's intrusive thoughts are just about people, but now mine are about amoebas and geological formations with soft, squidgy features. This shows the intersection between OCD intrusive images and personifying things with autism and autism's unique sensory world. I wanted to stop making this video, but I couldn't.